Yeah. I was hoping the Disney people would have put together a banner and, sort of like to match the San Diego energy we had earlier. Yeah. Hey, I want to give a quick shout out to Artisan, by the way. 10 years ago this month, I started working at Disney on a contract with Artisan. So they had I'm pretty sure Margaret didn't know what an IA was 10 years ago, but she gamely placed me, and I'm now a full-time employee. It's 10 years later, so I always have a soft spot in my heart for Artisan. I'm going to try to talk in both mics at the same time.
So many proteges, too, thanks to that Artisan placement.
So the title of our talk today is Other People's Problems, and this is sort of a motto of mine. I'm always much more fascinated in other people's problems than I am in my own, which has led to a whole bunch of mentoring Lynn and I have done. I think that's true of most of us, which is no matter what we're dealing with, hearing somebody else's issue is always so fascinating. And we've kind of built a whole platform out of the fact that we're interested in your problems. And in each other's. So if I can make Prezi work, by the way, quite excited by the Prezi. So about sharing the love, that's what co-mentoring is about. And here at UCLA in the last decade, there were a group of us in various graduate and undergraduate departments who met for lunch every day at the Anderson School at the cafe over there. Oh, sorry. I thought Lynn was just about to tell you about what happened 15 years ago here at UCLA.
15 years ago at UCLA, I used to sign Chris Chandler's timesheets, but that's not really relevant today. We were both graduate students in two different departments, but I worked in the department that he was a student in. And there were three of us that were kind of fascinated by this crazy web thing that would come out, and decided that we wanted to work in that area, but we didn't really know how to go about it. There were no names for things. There were no jobs. It was the wild and woolly west, the first .com. And so there were three of us, Chris and Danny and I, who just had lunch together every day. And then for like 2 years, right? Pretty much.
Working on campus.
And we did things like, we looked at job descriptions together, and when Danny went to apply for a job, we reviewed Danny's resume and made sure it matched the job description. And when Danny started negotiating salaries, we helped him, right? One of the things that Chris taught me at that time was to, and I may be jumping ahead in the presentation here, but not pay so much attention to your inner fraud. Everybody, Chris has this wonderful saying that everybody deep down inside their own hearts is afraid that they're going to be found out to be a fraud. And that drives a lot of our behavior. And one of the things that Chris and Danny and I used to tell each other at this table was, stop listening so much to your inner fraud. Let your inner fraud not be so loud.
Well, the trick is everybody else is thinking the same thing. They don't have time to think that you're a fraud. It never even occurs to them. Except right about now. They're probably thinking that right now, Lynn, about us.
So it was just three people with some shared interests and some proximity and a lunch table and some respect. And that's the next point is yours. Mentoring every which way but loose.
Yeah, which I thought was a joke that might date me, mentoring every which way but loose. Well, we started off with a bunch of slide bullet points that said mentoring up, mentoring down, mentoring sideways. And that was a cornerstone of what we talked about, was that mentoring, the typical traditional mentoring relationship, was not something that we found particularly interesting, and that we believed that mentoring was a two-way street always, and that should be done really between equals and acknowledging the equality of the people in that relationship. We believe that mentoring and co-mentoring, that you really have to fundamentally believe that this is not a zero-sum game. You can't think, well, I don't want to mentor that person for the job interview, because what if they get the job that I'm looking for? Which Lynn did to me, by the way.
I did. Not only did I get the job, but I got his salary. Whoops, it was the dot bomb, and they didn't have enough money.
Exactly. Ha, you had to work at Rare Medium. Anyway.
They sent me to Italy for 10 days.
Exactly.
And I got to meet Karuna Venter, too. I don't know if she's here today, but that was pretty awesome. Oh, pay it forward. That one's mine. So the other thing about peer mentoring is that you're not really there's no back, right? You're sort of passing the mentoring in a big circle. So it's not really paying it forward. It's not really paying it back. It's just sort of paying it around, right? Is that sort of?
I'm pretty sure that's how banks operate.
And my other note here for this bullet point says random acts of senseless kindness. I did one of those for Chris once. And you can just, I sent in his resume for a job. Turned out to be a good thing. But just, a small act of kindness on your part could mean a whole lot to somebody else in getting them launched and getting them started.
Well, I want to say that these two pictures at the IA Summit over the years, a little tradition has started where somebody puts up a peanut-style mentoring booth. And this is something that Lynn and I enjoy all the time. Many other people here have sat in this booth. But just the idea that you could sit in the booth, anyone can sit there, and anyone can sit on either side and have a quick mentoring session. And just something we enjoy. We'll do it again in Baltimore. For those of you who are there, please come enjoy it and enjoy it. So as we were putting this talk together, I started asking myself, well, why am I suspicious of a traditional mentoring relationship? So I went back and I asked myself the question, well, who was Mentor exactly? Who was this guy Mentor? And I found something pretty interesting, which is we've got this story all wrong. This story is all wrong. So Mentor was a retired, crotchety old guy that Odysseus, left in, I don't know if I'm Greek or Roman, left in charge of Ithaca, and he was supposed to watch over his son Telemachus and his wife Penelope in the city of Ithaca while Ulysses was away. I wrote Odysseus for days and days. My lips are not going to cooperate. But the funny thing is and I'm going to just admit that I actually have never read the Iliad or the Odyssey, so that's just,
I recommend the Stanley Lombardo translation.
Sure, thank you. Exactly. Just to get, I'm a fraud. I don't know anything about, the Odyssey. But when the Odyssey opens, by the way, Ulysses has been gone for almost 10 years, and the city's a mess because really Mentor kind of isn't really in charge of anything, and nobody listens to him. And Penelope's surrounded by suitors, and the city's falling apart. And so essentially what happens is Athena, the goddess of wisdom, takes matters into her own hands and starts pretending to be Mentor and telling Telemachus what to do. So Mentor actually had no good advice to give to Telemachus. It was all Athena in the guise of Mentor. So I just want to say this story has sprung up. We all believe in it, but it actually is not really what was going on.
So that brings us to, well, how can you be a good or a better mentor than Mentor was himself? And if you got some of the candy cards, you'll see some of the things that we believe in. You should read them before you eat them because they're custom. But one of the things that we really strongly believe in is just honor and respect, right? Honoring the advice that's given to you, respecting the time and effort that you have put into each other, right? And respect for the connections and introductions that people have made for you. There's nothing worse than introducing someone to somebody and then finding out afterwards that they never followed up on that introduction. It's like, well, I put myself out there, but then you didn't follow up, and I'm trying to help you, so what's up with that? And then respect for sort of what I'm calling the current position. In a peer mentoring relationship, sometimes you'll be more highly ranked than someone, or you'll be in a lower level. Chris and I have kind of gone like this for years, and now he's like way up here, and I work down at the bottom.
I think it's the opposite, actually.
But respect the person's position, respect what they know, respect what they don't know, respect the experience that they've had, respect the experience that they haven't had. If you haven't had management experience where you've had to deal with the problems that come with supervising the likes of me, then you can't really bring that perspective to your question. And so if your peer mentor has had that, then you can ask those sorts of questions from that perspective. You'll want to respect, if you're at the higher level, you need to respect the perhaps limited understanding of somebody at the lower level, right? A worker bee may not have the understanding. One of the other amazing things that Chris has taught me is that in the worker bee manager relationship, your job is to make your boss look good. Your boss's job is to get you what you need to do your job. And I actually tend to start new jobs with that statement. Like, I just put it out on the table with my boss. I know it's bossy, but I do it. And it actually it opens the door for us. But respecting that they, as a manager, they may have other goals, they may have other concerns, they have a bigger picture view of things, and respecting that as an individual contributor, if you're a manager, they may not have that perspective, right? And that's sort of understanding the perspective is kind of key.
And I just, one of the things that Lynn has taught me is that sometimes you have to mentor your boss.
Oh yes, the delicate art of mentoring up.
That's probably never happened to any of you, but.
But the statement about the roles of the job of the worker and the manager actually goes a long way towards helping that. Like, by putting it out on the table, then you can then come to the manager and say, I would love to do this to make you look good, right? And then
I've worked for a lot of people who don't really understand the web or the internet or the mobile or the whatever the thing that I'm in their office blathering about that week. And how you get them to understand is a particular dedicated effort. It's something you really have to think about, and you have to do it, without saying, "Hey, you're stupid because you didn't read this blog post that I just read." Which I've said, by the way. Don't say that.
We've been handed a communication.
A note from the share the mic. Share the mic. Which mic?
I just discovered that it's been muted, and I just turned it on.
Yours is not going into the stream, so you and I are sharing this mic.
Nope, I'm on now.
All right. Problem solved. Thanks for that mentoring, Alberta.
So when I say safe table, I mean safe table in the sense that the people who are sitting at the table acknowledge that they respect each other, even if they don't know each other that well. They respect each other and they acknowledge that their intentions are good. And so you can give any kind of advice, right, that's relevant to the question, but you also have to you have to be able to accept it. So the safe table concept is important. You can't be offended by somebody's advice if it's not exactly what you want to hear.
I've always thought it was interesting, that if you go to a design program, right, they make you take a studio class where somebody tells you how worthless and derivative and horrible your work is for the quarter or the semester. And the point of that, the pedagogical point of that, is to realize that to toughen you up, right? To make you understand that anybody can tell you whatever they want about your work, and it's about how you react to it. So it's a safe table, but you also have to, sometimes you have to tell your friend, by the way, you're a little manic right now, you need to take that down a notch, or, boy, you're really caught up in this salary thing, but I don't think that's what this is about, or are you really going to wear that to the interview?
Yeah.
He said to me things. It helped a lot, by the way.
Did it? I'm glad. I don't remember that one. but that then comes, to ask any question. So any question that you can come up with, like, should I wear this to the interview? And truthful answers, but respectful truthful answers. You can't abuse a safe table, right? They have to have some thought behind them and some consideration. But when I say any questions, one of the things that I often tell my students is I'm a big fan of sharing salary information, because as a left-wing pinko commie socialist, I believe that it makes us stronger and allows us to know what other people at our level or above or below are making, right? So that we can have a better sense of what we're worth. So when I say ask any question, I mean ask any question. So.
On the other hand, you really shouldn't do that in your office setting. With your co-mentors, that sounds great, by the way, but I'm just going to have to offer right now that asking people salary information at work Nothing good can come of that.
But that's not a safe. That's not a safe table.
Not at the safe table. Just want to make that distinction.
That's not a safe table.
With your co-mentors and peers, absolutely.
Yeah, accept the feedback. So, any questions? I said salary. About resume, we did resume reviews. We did interview coaching. We have done sticky wickets, I call them. Just like, I'm working on this problem. It's a profession. It doesn't even have to be a career issue, right? It could be a work problem. I'm working on this problem. I'm not getting traction I need. How can you help me with that, right? That kind of mentoring as well. Anything that's, we all bring something to the table, and it all goes in, it all flows in all the directions. So bringing it all to the table and accepting it all to the table just makes it a richer mentoring relationship. All right, I'm done with this slide.
Well, you were going to start this one too.
No, it says you.
No, but not the first part.
Time is a dimension.
So time is a dimension.
Time is a dimension.
We have a rule of at least one full walkthrough before each presentation, and I think we got about halfway through the walkthrough last night.
At 10:30.
So this is about the halfway point, so I'm not guaranteeing anything from now on. So one of the things to realize, right, is that you're in this for the long haul, right? We're talking about your career. My career in this field is a decade, and I know people, and I've worked with people who've come and gone in offices and situations. I've worked with them. I know them. I've gone to school with them. Sometimes they move far away and then they move back. Like the particular single instance of the mentoring is not what's critical. What's critical is that you're in this for the long haul. This is about your career and your life, and I admit that I'm one of the people who get those two things confused all the time. But the network is wide.
and people will talk. So how many of you guys walked into this room already knowing somebody who was in it? Exactly. Our profession is small, and just as it's easy to find an introduction, it's also easy to share stories. So it's just be cautious, right? Behave professionally. Put your best out there. People will talk about the good. People will say, oh, wow, yeah, I worked with them back in 2000, and they did this awesome thing with this, I don't know, whatever it was we were working on in 2000. That was all vaporware.
eSociety.com, I remember that.
Yeah, there was Biz, yeah, too. And to quote Eric Ries, who you've heard from, or you will hear from later today, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And that comes back to the network being wide, the network being deep, and people remembering and talking.
So how to go about doing this? I mean, I think a lot of you out there are probably thinking to yourself, I know a lot of you out there right now are thinking to yourselves, but I'm a first year. That just cracks me up, by the way. I come and talk in classes and people identify by what year in the program they are, as if that was like a really crucial thing about you. It's a very transient, very minor detail about you.
That's right, next year you'll be a second year.
That's right. It just keeps happening. I just had a birthday. They just come one after another. So if someone comes to you and you want to be a mentor, right, how do you do that? You might say to yourself, I don't know anything about this topic, I don't know anything about them, I'm this and that, not prepared, I'm a fraud, basically. But really all you need to do is ask questions. And you ask questions in order to force perspective, right? That's what the questions are when you're mentoring somebody. You don't know if you're gonna ask the right question, the wrong question, whether you're gonna change their life or not, but it forces the other person to have a different kind of perspective. So when someone has a mentoring moment.
Well, I was going to say, making them answer the question or having someone make you answer a question often helps you, it's like therapy, right? Talking through it helps you identify it and figure out where the issue is.
Yeah, most of the time you don't have to tell anybody what to do. You just ask a couple questions and it'll become pretty obvious what the situation really is. Some of the starting questions that we ask when someone asks about a job or should they change positions or should they take this opportunity or that opportunity, right? Is the candid ones, right? What's in it for you? What do you really get out of it? Money, wealth, fame, power, prestige, location, whatever that's going to be. And what's in it, that as a mentor, of course, you get all those things, power, wealth, prestige. And then, of course, what's in it for them? And that might be, why would this person want you, right? What are you bringing to their organization, right? What do they get out of it? Because I think it's important to realize, right, again, in a lot of those job situations, those are two-way conversations. And it's easy when you go into an organization to think, oh, I hope they pick me, I hope they pick me. But you should also think about why they should pick you and why you are the right person.
And why you should pick them.
And why you should pick them.
And those are the questions that your mentors can help you with.
So I'm a big fan of the technique of the 5 whys. It's a very simple, couldn't be simpler actually, which is you just ask why until you get to the answer, until you get to the answer where you can't ask why anymore, or you don't have to ask why anymore. So when somebody is in a situation, well, why do you want this job, right? Oh, why is that important to you? Well, why would that make a difference in your life? You know, I think it's pretty simple. I see some people nodding their heads. It's amazing how, you know, it's not like your 5-year-old. You're not going to, believe me, that's not going to go on for hours. You just have to uncover the first couple levels to get down to what is what is it that the person really cares about? What is it? Why are they leaving that job? Why are they interested in getting a new job? Why do they want the new job? What are they interested in about that job?
And I have some other questions too that I often ask, like, what would happen if? Right? What would happen if you decided to leave that job? What would happen if you put the button over here? Where would that take you? Like, what career trajectory would that put you on, right? Those are questions that sometimes we don't really think about. Like, oh, this job sounds really good. It's working with somebody who's really awesome, but maybe it's a dead end, right? So, and we haven't taken that step back to think and say, wow, where would that take me?
I'm a big fan of what's the worst thing that could happen? Right? Which oftentimes is challenging because somebody will come to you, or you'll come to you're full of anxiety, and you're just going, and they're imagining, and then you say, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? You don't get the job. You make a fool of yourself to an international audience. I mean, I guess. Oh
yeah, I did that.
Hang on a second, I didn't think that through. Usually, the worst thing that can happen is not that bad, right? You want to eat raw chicken? What's the worst thing that could happen? Oh, you could die, but that's highly unlikely.
We're not having raw chicken.
Right.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
I was
actually has notes.
I have notes. I was going to say that earlier this week you came to me with a mentoring question, and I asked you some questions, and I was wondering if you had any of them that you remembered that were really good.
I barely remember that conversation.
Okay.
No, I mean, I think we've covered them. I think we did cover them. You asked me, why is it that they're asking you to do this thing, right? Who are the people that you would be associated with? What do you actually know about that situation? And again, what's in it for them and what's in it for you?
I think that's it. What was in it for them? What's in it for you? Right. And what would happen if?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys were taking notes, right? Because we're going to make you do this.
Because the point is, all of you can do this. So what we're going to make you do is mentor someone.
Right here, right now. All right, so I know it was successful because I heard from that side of the room, that was fun. So hopefully, everybody in the room got at least 3 people to talk to, to talk with them about their problem. Was that helpful?
Yes.
Did you get some forced perspective?
Yes.
Do you feel like maybe you could move the needle on your problem? Did you get some business cards?
Yes.
Awesome. Chris, do you have questions for these kind of people?
Well, so first of all, those of you still having fun in the back of the room, stop it.
That's right. There'll be time for fun later.
I want you all to know, as at Disney, there's a concept, when they close down the park at night, there's a concept they call leaving the place show ready. So when we're done here, we need to leave this room show ready for tomorrow's library. So I just hopefully everybody I know will help out and we'll get this done lickety-split, because that's why we're also concerned about time. I would love it if anybody wanted to come up and say anything about this experience. I've only got about 4 more minutes before we have to sit down and get on with the rest of the program. But
does anybody want to share?
Unfortunately, we have this 2-mic situation. There's a mic for the room and a mic for the feed.
But you can stand right here next to me.
You have to do some public speaking. If you want, I'll stand in front of you, and they won't know that it's you talking.
Nobody wants to share, Chris.
No, I guess. We failed, Lynn. We failed.
No, we tried.
We tried. No, I mean, look, this never fails. This never fails. You guys could. We had to prop open the door of this room because you were all talking so much that it got unbearably hot. So the energy in here was fantastic, and I mean, I think that's the thing. And I hope you met people, and I hope you talk to people that you're going to continue, and I hope you realize that everybody who's in this room today who shared this experience is now someone you can reach out to and ask them anything. If it's me, by the way, and the worst thing that can happen, if you're wondering, is I won't respond. That's all. That's as bad as it gets, is you don't hear from me.
I think that's all I've got.
But then just keep bugging me, because that's all I can do.
Because that's all you've got, really, when it comes to getting him to respond. So I think that's all we've got. Does anybody have questions for us? Okay.
They don't need us anymore, Lynn.
Speak now or forever hold your peace. I think we're done. Oh, okay. How much money do I make? I make $114,000 a year with a 34% benefits rate.
Would you like to
Not counting what I make at teaching at UCLA. Sorry.
Which doubles that, I believe.
Would you like to say something about references, testimonials, anecdotes, something that people can use for references and the use of references generally, and ideally testimonials like in LinkedIn or whatever, so that a lot of that comes to play as to how you would expect it. But whenever I ask this question, I get an entirely different reaction as to what I thought would be the answer. So I'll take my question offline.
Well, I'll speak for myself first. So 2 things about that. I don't find references on LinkedIn to be particularly informative, honestly. I like the idea. Whenever anybody asks me to write something about them, am I touching this? I don't know. Did I make it go away? I instantly want you to know that it's a quid pro quo, which is if I write a testimonial about you, I expect you're going to write a testimonial about me. That only seems fair. I will say that if you want somebody to write something about you on LinkedIn, I'll tell you this is a good trick. You should tell the person what you want them to say.
Write it for them.
It sounds wrong, but it's so right? No, I'm not saying word for word. I'm not saying they're going to copy and paste, right? But if you want me to say something about the work that we did together, remind me what projects we worked on, what you did, what your role was, tell me the years and the dates, help me out, right? I'm a busy person. You're a busy person. I'll think about writing it right in that moment, right? Once the moment's gone and your email's 2 screens down in my Gmail, right? I'm not going to remember to do it. So go, don't be shy.
And the thing that I would say about providing those references is, again, user-centered design of all things, right? Who's going to use that reference, and what are they going to use it for? What do they want to hear, right? They want to hear that you're a team player. They want to hear that you're not crazy, that you're reliable, those sorts of things. But bear in mind also, if you're thinking about somebody who is conducting a job search and they're trying to, they're wading through just reams and reams and reams of these earnest things, put a little humor in it, be light, right? Mention something that's fun or interesting, but keep it appropriate.
Regarding the network, I mean, Lynn said it earlier, and I absolutely will check on LinkedIn to see who I know that's worked with you and call them or DM them or Skype them or something, however you get in touch with people. So the network is important.
The network matters a lot. Yeah. That was a good
question. One more
question,
maybe? You. One more question? Organizers, do we have time for one more?
Why don't we go on break and we do a full question and answer at the
They
end?
just had like a 40-minute break. All they did was
It's a candy break.
Yeah, candy break, bathroom break. That sounds great. Thank you all
thank you, guys.
very, very much.